Okay, I'm looking at the scale of human consciousness. If you go on Google and type in scale of human consciousness, go to images, and you'll see a bunch of different versions of what people have put together for the scale of human consciousness. Um, I have some problems with the way people are talking about the scale of human consciousness, because they are using terms from electromagnetic spectrum when they're talking about consciousness. And I don't believe they are the same thing. So, for example, in the electromagnetic spectrum, which is primarily, different forms of, microwave, visible light, X-rays, gamma rays, infrared light. All of these kinds of things are electromagnetic energies. And consciousness, I'm having a very hard time trying to see. I think they're different aspects. I don't think they are the same thing. I don't think consciousness is electromagnetic energy. I don't think you can map consciousness onto electromagnetic energy. And we do know that in the human brain, neurons use electrical signals, so there is electricity, and we know from things like EEGs and different kind of sensors of brain waves that you can sense what states the brain is in using electromagnetic type of sensors. But to my knowledge, there is not a machine that can read your thoughts. I have heard of these kind of machines, but as far as I know, they are not commercially available. One time on the internet, I saw an Israeli company that said that they had something like this. But when I looked again sometime later, it had disappeared. So it seems to be a suppressed technology. It still gets back to my question, is consciousness itself measured in hertz, which is cycles per second? Now, people might be using this terminology because it's the best available to describe consciousness. In other words, what we call low vibration consciousness is things like anger, pride, vanity, anxiety, grief, sorrow. These are all, if you look on the scale of human consciousness, all of the things that are labels below 200 on the scale, low vibration, they call it. But is it the same as a low frequency electromagnetic wave? I don't think so. I don't think it's the same. I think they're using this descriptive terminology because it gives you an idea, but we wouldn't say that a low frequency wave is a negativity on the scale, on the electromagnetic scale. And a high frequency electromagnetic wave like an X-ray is not considered to be, like a Jesus ray or something, that, if you get hit by X-rays, it's going to elevate you into your Buddhahood. No. So, I just wanted to put it out there because I looked and I saw one of these scale of consciousnesses where somebody put hertz, and I think it's incorrect. So it does give you an idea that there is a scale, but the labeling is inconsistent on these pictures, and some of it is wrong. And it's true, according to research, that the brain goes into these alpha states, delta states, theta states, all these different names for, what they see on a graph when they hook you up to one of these EEGs, or maybe, I guess it's an EEG. These different kinds of brain states that, they can measure people. If they're meditating, they go into one state, and if they're hypnotized, they go into another. And if you're, in deep sleep, you're in one other state, brain waves. If you're in dreaming REM sleep, you get a different brain state. But I don't think, maybe that gives you an indication of what's going on, what they think is going on in the mind at that time. But I don't think you can say that those are directly translatable to what you're feeling. In other words, if you're having a dream, you're in REM sleep, and that is called, I don't know what they call REM sleep, if it's theta or delta or whatever it is, but they'll have a name for REM sleep. And it doesn't tell you what kind of dream you're having. Are you having a nightmare, or are you having a very pleasant dream? As far as I know, maybe I should do more research into what they're saying. If you're having a nightmare, maybe if you're feeling the heart, maybe the heart is pulsing more and there's more stress on the body. I don't know. But it's a very curious thing. I just don't feel like it's accurate to say that if you're in anger, that you've got a certain hertz. I don't think so. Your body might be agitated, but I don't think you have a hertz. In other words, the cycles per second. And if you're out on a nature walk, you definitely feel differently, but I don't think hertz is the appropriate measurement of your consciousness. I really feel that is incorrect. It is sort of like giving you a thermometer to measure something else, to give you an idea that there's a scale, but it is the incorrect terminology. So that's just something I wanted to put out there, because I'm seeing that the scale of consciousness that Google gives you under Google Images, they're inconsistent. They're interesting. Some of the labels I find are incorrect. I like the Dr. David R. Hawkins version, especially when it comes to level 400. Level 400, I just saw one of them that said inner light. And I went, that's not inner light in 400 at all. Inner wisdom, no. It is rational mind, and it's something to be transcended, and it is a huge, hard thing, very difficult thing to transcend rational mind in the 400. 499 is as difficult as 199. So 199 is right before you get to positivity. Everything below 200 on the scale is negativity. It's a downward spiral. Very negative. And there's a huge jump in consciousness from 199 to 200. Is it difficult? Yes. It is very difficult to go from negativity to going the other way. Very difficult. And 499 is more difficult than from going from negativity to positivity, 199 to 200. Because humans that get their rational mind worship their rational mind. It's why we worship doctors. We worship science. 400s is science. We worship it in Western society. It is, if science says this, then it is so. Okay? So that is a huge hurdle, because above 499, that's the highest level of rational thought, you are going into basically mystical consciousness, which someone that's in the 400 doesn't even believe in. They're going to say, well, it's probably like someone taking some kind of psychedelic drug, or, it's like, something's happened in your brain chemistry and your brain has gone haywire. That's the way they're going to look at it. So to convince someone's very scientific that these mystical higher states are possible, things like telepathy and some of these other things, miraculous healings and things, they do like to study it. They used to study it more. I think it's very secretly studied now. But Dr. Hal Puthoff used to study the psychic Ingo Swann for the U.S. government. And you can study it and study it and study it. And Ingo Swann said it got very tiresome to be studied by the scientists because being a guinea pig for these kind of scientists was just very tedious. So the way that the psychiatrist Carl Jung, Jung, helped people with very strong rational minds come to understand that the rational mind is not the be-all and end-all is his famous story of the scarab beetle. He had a patient come to him and say she had a dream of a scarab beetle. And you should look up the symbology of the scarab beetle. It has something to do with, I think it's Egyptian mythology, perhaps. But anyway, they were in Dr. Jung's office, and Dr. Jung was trying to explain dreams and trying to explain the collective unconscious that connects all humans. And this patient would have none of it. And lo and behold, Dr. Jung heard a tapping on his window in his office. So he went over and opened the window, and in flew a scarab beetle. And that was the exact beetle that the patient had seen in their dream. So that was Dr. Jung's expression, synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence. Of all the possible things that could happen in his office, this was the meaningfulest thing that would convince this particular patient that the rational mind would say, well, the probability of a scarab beetle banging on your window while I'm in here, of all different types of bugs that are around in, maybe it was Vienna, Austria, and then that thing bangs on your window right when I'm in here, and you open the door, or you open the window, and in flies the same beetle, Dr. Jung would go, synchronicity. This is the proof to the rational mind that there is more going on than your rational mind can prove using scientific method. There you have it, the big problem of how to convince the rational mind that there are more to things to life than that. Thank you for watching. I'm Harry Weaver, your ever-present narrator.